Yes, I don't think they are too worried about it. And what we have, yeah, like you talked about the circuit as well, and I think that is coming up in only a couple of 6 kilometers. It's the border sprint, and to have a Norwegian in that break, I really hope that she gives everything she can to win the sprint, going back to Norway from Sweden.
As I already explained, there are no points on offer for this border sprint, but there is a small financial prize to whoever gets into Norway first. Talking of Deva Tuslaita, she's the Lithuanian road champion, so that's why you can't see the bright colours of Ale Cipollini there in the break, though you can see them very, very close to the front there in the peloton as they wind their way through the Swedish village there.
You can see they are not moving very fast at the moment, and the gap is increasing a lot and very fast. So
I'm a bit surprised to see Ellen van Dijk, who has to be Sunweb's main GC option, sitting in third place, to see her so near the front. Well, on the front there, taking a bit of wind. Should she be hiding, or is that just her style?
Yeah, I think it's for sure she's not spending unnecessary energy in the front, and she's definitely not pulling hard at the moment. Everybody knows when Ellen van Dijk is pulling hard, it's hard to stay even in her wheel.
On the right there, you can see Lisa Kline of Cervelo Bigla in her brightly coloured German national champions shorts, but also wearing the Eidsberg Sparerbank Young Riders Classification white jersey. She's had a fantastic race, and she is a big star in the making, I think.
Yes, we've seen her. She's always up there, and she's been doing very strong races lately, and not only here in Norway, but already last week in Sweden we could see her do some really good job, leading to the win from Lotta Lepisto, who's sitting in her wheel, the Finnish champion from Cervelo Bigla.
I mean, Kline is only 20 years old, and the work she did last week, getting in the break at Forgårda, getting in the break there, and then still pulling the peloton when they were caught. I thought that was incredible. That was a great ride. And as you say, setting up a team win, and it showed just how the team worked well together, and she was a constituent part of that, obviously.
They are cooperating well in front. I think it's for all three of these riders. They are definitely interested in building up as a big gap, as big as they can before entering this circuit, because they know that it's still a long way to the finish. But with the final circuits, and I know for sure that all these riders have seen it, because they've been staying here almost a whole week now in Halden, where the circuit is, and they know what's expecting them when coming in, and they know also that in the peloton it is a bit more easy than when you're up the road like they are. But if they can maybe win now the border sprint and enter the circuit by racing aggressive, they also have this prize, the most aggressive rider who actually do win 10 kilos of salmon. That is the thing that is being talked about in the peloton, and a lot of the girls love the Norwegian salmon, so it's a really wanted prize, actually.
Yeah, just on the other two that are in the break, Ingrid Moore, she's currently way down and no threat on general classification at 9 minutes and 36 back, and Lisen Hawkins is a bit closer at 1:42, but so with that 2 minute and 26 gap is theoretically then second on the virtual general classification, but that's certainly not going to stay the same. Orica at the front. Now, Orica have had a very good race with Gracie Elvin, but sadly the bridge yesterday caused them a little bit of grief. I think we think they had a plan going into the final circuits, and she certainly paid with her general classification position dropping from second or third position the day before last, going into yesterday, all the way back into 15th position on 27 seconds. So it was a bit of a shame for Oracle, another one of your old teams.
Yes, yeah, it was very unfortunate. I totally understand the girls, so that it is a lot of frustration out there, and it's also been a lot of talks about regulations and whether it is a regulation that says if the gap is less than 30 seconds, they're not going to keep the gap for the leaders, and the way the race started as well, and it was. Yeah, unfortunate, very unfortunate for the race, and the situation that the race, I was so excited for the final because they didn't have it under control. Okay, it was going down the distance for the four leaders, but I'm not sure that they would have caught them. And if they would, like, we could already see Marianne at the front helping in the chase, and yeah.
And of course, had she had to work on her own to bring back that break, she wouldn't have had the power left. Maybe wouldn't have had the power left to sprint for that second place, and of course the 6 bonus seconds. So you know, it leaves a lot of things open. I can see why, if there is a gap of 30 seconds, that an incident such as yesterday's would wipe out the advantage of the break, but it does seem unnecessarily cruel when you're so close to the finish that gap is wiped out, and we don't know, we never will, but could have had an effect on the general classification of this race.
Yes, it's a lot of if, isn't it? And I think that, that was what was going on a lot of the talks last night, and I even saw Leah Kirchmann, who was in the break, and she put up a tweet that maybe should actually be a rule to have a no bridge or train crossing in the finishing circuits for a women's world tour, and that might be a thing to take in consider for the future, because it's always, even though you try to prevent, you do everything you can, of course, and the organization did that, but it happened, and it can happen.
I mean, the organisation had arranged that the bridge would not be lifted.
No.
However, it seems that the message we understand that the message didn't get through to a new shift at the control point up in Oslo.
Yeah.
And I think that could affect a rider's career. You know, a stage win or even a GC win is a big boost to a rider's career, and for that to happen, I think is a shame. I wonder if perhaps regulations could be altered and there'd be a sliding scale depending on the proximity of the break to the finish line. But yeah, perhaps that's an idea that the UCI could look at in the future.
Yes, and I'm sure that they will consider, they will keep this in their mind for the future. And you can see here the Norwegian national team is giving the thumbs up, happy about having a girl up the front.
And the Norwegian champion from High Tech Products sat there right on her wheel.
Yeah.
So we've got 500 metres now to the border sprint. Let's see who's going to take it out. Seems that Tuslaiter is happy to go through, and Moa is obviously the rider that's going to want to take this. She's in a good position now at the back. Yes. She's in a position to try and take it on.
That's about timing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she starts from the front.
What do you think to her tactics there? To Moa's tactics?
I don't know. Like, I have no idea if she wanted to go for it, or maybe she's just happy to be in this situation. Maybe she needs to save energy to stay with this breakaway. We have Davia Tuzalete, like, she is the strongest one in this break, and she also shows it by by starting the sprint from the front, and the two, they can't even follow her wheel. So,
but it's the right thing to do, to be at the back of that group of three on the approach to the sprint, isn't it? So you can't criticise her tactics.
Well, the tactics was good, but I think when you know you have a stronger rider in front of you, if you're going to be in the back, you need to make sure that you start the sprint before. Because when the stronger rider starts the sprint before you, it's no way you're going to make up for it. Because it doesn't, like now you can see as well, that she first had to pass.
To come round.
Yes, yeah. And yeah, it's almost mission impossible.
Yeah.
If I was her, I would have tried to go a little bit earlier, try to surprise her.
They've had a good race, Ale Cipollini. I'm not saying that winning the border sprint is the greatest achievement within the race, but with a stage win with Chloe Hoskins' win yesterday, they've got Janneke Ensing is winning the mountains classification. I think that's a good race for the Italia team, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's. I think they are racing really well together, and as a team, they are supporting each other. You can see Janneke. She was also Janneke Ensing. She was caught in that group in between. Yesterday it was first the 4 leaders, and then it was a group of 5 in between, and she actually she didn't work to go back to the peloton to help and chase it back for Chloe and for her to be able to sprint.
Third wheel is you've got Anushka Costa on the front here with I think that's Korovar in second wheel, I think, and third wheel there was Kasia Niewiadoma, who the former Polish champion, who is leaving WM3 later this year, but is still working for Marianne Vos. She's also second place on the Women's World Tour classification. And it's going to be a tall order for her to try and overhaul Anna van der Breggen lead in that competition. She started the day, Anna van der Breggen, who's not here, started this race on 855 points, with Kasia on 778 points. Kasia's only managed to claw back 8 points on stage 1, and now sits 69 points behind Anna van der Breggen. So, if our mathematics is correct, she's got to win the stage and finish 6th on GC in order to overhaul that. Do you think this is possible, or is the team goal the biggest goal?
They do have Marianne in yellow for today, and of course that is the big goal for the team. But the season is long, and the Women's World Tour, it's a lot of more races, and of course if she can grab another couple of points, the more points that she can have for free while working for Marianne, the better, of course. But it's not anything that the team is thinking about today. Is all about defending the yellow for Marianne. But I think for Kasia, she's definitely in for it. The next Women's World Tour race is already in employ.
Yeah.
Within a week.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's next Saturday. But there's a lot of racing still to come in the World Tour season. As you say, we've got Plouay next weekend. But then the following Tuesday, the Bulls Tour of Holland starts, and that's a 6-stage race, and there are points up for grabs, all points up for grabs there. So there's still very much an opportunity for Niewiadoma to overtake that lead. Though I imagine the motivation will be very high for Bulls Dolmans and Anna van der Breggen at their home race before the final race of the series is in Madrid. Not a race for either Niewiadoma or van der Breggen, I think.
No, I think we have seen this season as well how the jersey has been jumping in between riders. We had a lot of different type of races that includes in the World Tour, and like we say, now the jersey is on the shoulders of Anna van der Breggen, who is at home at the moment, and whether it's impossible for the riders to do every single of the World Tour race. So if we're going to see Niewiadoma and van der Breggen on both Ploe and Bulls Ladies Tour. I think that is probably what's going to decide who will end up with the jersey.
Is it something that individuals or teams will bother to target?
I think the closer you come to the final, if you see that it's a possibility, it's not too far between them. I would say if you have a chance to go for it, then you will. But nobody will start in the beginning of the season and have that as the target. I don't think so. I think it's. I think obviously with the team, it's very important to come in with the target to win these big events, and when you are up there all the time, and then it is a possibility to have that jersey.
Talking of jerseys, there's Amelia Didrikse, the current world champion. It's a very different course from last year's course coming up next month in Bergen. Last year was flat. This year isn't. It's not a course for Amelia. Do you think?
No, it's difficult to say. I think it's definitely more of a classic race. I think it's still quite far away to the finish after that, the climb that is on the lap. So it's going to be difficult for maybe a single rider or a couple to stay away all the way in. But depending on how the race is being raced, it totally makes it. It's not the course that makes the race; it's the riders, and that is. I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a good show. I know the women's peloton, they can always put up a good show, and at Worlds when it's such a big event, and it's always a good race.
They pull off a good show more often than not, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Everyone's leaving the chasing now to WM3, and they are in trouble with a gap of 3 minutes and 10 seconds. These riders are currently in the virtual lead of the overall. So with Tuslaiter at 42 seconds, she's got a 2.5 minute advantage here on Marianne Vos, as has Hawkins from Team Australia. I mean, that would be a fantastic thing for the national team, but also for Ale Cipollini to beat not only Marianne Vos, but WM3 itself. So we've spoken a little bit about the strength of WM3. We've seen a lot of Anushka Costa, and we saw a lot yesterday from Monique Teniglo. Have they got it to bring this back under control? Will other teams join in if they're looking at their own GC positions? Because it's not just Marianne Vos that is no longer leading the race, it's also the other teams that aren't on overall podiums.
Yes, oh, definitely. It should be in everyone's interest, but when you are in yellow, it is the responsibility for the leading team to do this job, and that's also why they are putting them up at the front to work already. Still 55 kilometers to go, so it is far, but yeah, it's more than 3 minutes at the moment.
So the aim of the other teams, the Bulls, Dolmans and Sunwebs, will be to ensure that WM3 that Marianne Vos has no support once she comes to those final circuits, and they can try and steal some seconds off her and take the win out. I guess that's the tactic that they're using in order, and just off you go, it's your job.
It is how they need to think, and riding at the front, pulling the whole peloton, and chasing these riders at the front. Of course, it wears you out, and it's already been there on the fourth day of racing, so it's already some tired legs out there, and I think the closer you come to the final, it definitely makes them vulnerable. It's going to be interesting to see how the other teams are going to use this fact that the WN3 need to work hard to keep this, to not grow too big, and how the local circuits are going to unfold.
Yeah. This is one of the fascinating things I find about stage racing is the fact that there are so many layers of competition going on. We've seen the points jersey being decided today. We've seen the mountains, Jannica Ensing taking the mountains classification. But the big prize is, of course, the general classification. And that's what's on the line. I mean, with 50Ks to go, there should be no issue with that 3-minute gap. But women's teams at six riders, it's far more difficult for a team to control a gap with only 6 riders, and one of those is your protected rider. So you've got 5 riders to try and control a gap of 3 minutes, and they're not making a dent. Whether they're trying to maintain that gap at 3:14, who knows? But the tension is rising with that level of gap, and it not coming down. And there's a little bit of insecurity, I imagine, and a bit of. Do you think there's a panic? Jeroen Blijvens is starting to panic in the car?
Not yet. I think it's as long as it doesn't grow any bigger than this, I would say that I have it under control, because the closer they come to the circuits, it's going to be other teams that wants to race aggressive as well, and try to make advantage of the fact that they're already at the front and needing to work, and even try to challenge Marianne for the yellow jersey, and then you still need to race aggressive, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens coming closer to these final laps.
You have the local marching band right underneath our underneath our window at the moment. Open the window so you can hear them. It's great. There's a great atmosphere here in Halden. The sun is out now. It's a bit cloudy, but the sun is out. There's big crowds. There are all the people drinking coffee.
Eating ice cream.
Eating ice cream, indeed, yeah. And there's been children racing up and down the finish line, and some older people racing up. There's been a cyclo-sportive of some description, hasn't there? And now you've got the local band standing outside playing their, doing their bit.
Yes, waking up this morning, I didn't think that it was going to be such a pleasant day. It was pouring down. I think the girls leaving to the start. That is always very hard for the motivation when you already have a little bit of tired legs, and it's just pouring. But as you see, the sun is out.
As I sat and had my breakfast, it was incredible, the rain that was coming down. It was incredible. It was a proper downpour, and I was feeling sorry for the riders as all the teams were leaving the hotel to head out to the start. I was feeling really sorry for them. But I mean, we've been very lucky with the weather. Looking at the forecast throughout the week, it was really poor, and we haven't had any racing in rain yet, which is good news. I always think, I think it puts if you'll pardon the pun, it puts a bit of dampener on the way the event is raced sometimes. But plenty of riders like the rain, like racing in the rain. They like the fact that it gives them an advantage, a mental advantage. And would you say it gives them an advantage on their bike handling? And
yes, I always like to think that it is a mental game, and to say I always, for one way or another, I managed to make everyone believe that I love the rain. But of course I didn't love the rain. I think nobody really does. I love it when I can sit inside, and this morning for breakfast I could sit and I can have another coffee, but when you need to start, you stand at the start line, and it's nobody loves that. But once you're racing, I didn't mind it too much. It didn't affect my cycling, and I think that is a bit of a mind game with yourself as well. You need to I tried to convince myself as well when I was riding that this is okay, and most of the time it helped.
Yeah. I'm ashamed to say that in my short career as a Category 3 and 4 racer on the roads of East and Southeast England, I never raced in the rain, because if I woke up and it was raining, I didn't bother. I hated racing.
Oh, you see.
Hate
Oh,
riding
well,
in the
it
rain.
wasn't that easy when you were racing for a team, and obviously you had your commitments, and sometimes it's. I think what's always important is that you try to pep each other, you try to maybe have a laugh about it and keep the spirit high. So what you don't want is a teammate who is really like grumpy, and I think it's very important to keep the spirit high, even though maybe you feel something different inside, at least for your teammates' sake.
Yeah, yeah. Make them think that you enjoy it. Yeah.
That's the way to spend a birthday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anushka Kuster, it's her birthday today.
It's her 23rd birthday today,
Yes.
yeah, and she's spending it trying to control the brake on the front in a former Dutch champion stripes on the caps of her sleeves. She's a good rider. She's another promising rider that will take the mantle from the people like you and Mariana as she comes towards the end of her career in a few years' time. And Giorgia Bronzini with the world champions stripes on her sleeves as well.
Yeah, and behind her, Emilia Fahlin, the former Swedish champion as well for Wiggle High Five.
You felt that Emilia might be the woman to try and take the border sprint, but obviously in the bunch.
Yes, I always, obviously, going between Sweden and Norway, it's always nice if it could be a Scandinavian. Myself and Emilia Moberg from Halden, we have had our battles racing over, where I think, was it 2 years back, we actually won a border sprint each.
Oh, really?
Yes, we did. So it's, I think it's a really nice thing, and it's a little bit special for the Scandinavian riders.
Of course, you're a Swedish woman who lives in Norway, so it's sort of doubly special in a way. They're working well. This group of 3 girls are working very, very well. You can see Moe, the woman in the national team of Norway's colours there at the front. She's got a lovely position on the bike. Looks so relaxed.
Yeah.
But clearly working. But she looks in control and relaxed. It's great to see. So under 50 kilometres to go, and the gap remains at 3 minutes and 15 seconds for these 3 riders. We have Ingrid Moe, Lisen Hawkins, and in the Lithuanian champions jersey we have Dave Tusilaita. It's been an eventful race up to now. Been very eventful. It's been a very eventful opening 110 kilometres, with it starting fairly benignly, but after the opening sprint, the peloton fractured and came back together again as riders were fighting for position and also for the mountains and sprint points that we've had. So the skirmishes earlier on in the race have secured the points jersey, the Simploya points jersey for Mariana Vos of WM3 Pro Cycling, and also the Haldenkanalen mountains jersey for Ale Cipollini's Janneke Ensin. 2 Dutch women winning the jerseys. What is it about the strength of Dutch women's cycling?
Yes, I think obviously in Holland, cycling is the big sport. Everyone rides a bike, whether it's a race bike, a BMX, a mountain bike, or just a city bike. Everybody rides their bike, and I think most of these Dutch girls, they have started racing already when they were kids, and I think that makes something with you. Like, you are more or less born on the bike. You get the skills early. They are also used to having bigger pelotons already from younger age, and of course now that they are winning these, they are also used to sprinting, because in Holland, like we know, it's a lot more flat, so it's most of the time the racers do end up in sprints in one way or another, if it's a big bunch sprint or if it's a smaller break. But hardly you see that it's a hilly race where a single rider rides away and enter on her own. So I think it's something that they are used to, and they also have the concurrence. The level is very high, and we know as well it's every small nation's nightmare coming to Worlds when the Dutch team lines up and they are there with 8, 9 riders that any one of them can win.
Do you think those races teach the Dutch riders more about racecraft than perhaps in more lumpy countryside, you know, because they have to think about the wind, they have to think about the direction of the road, they have to think about navigating their way around. There's a lot of road furniture in countries like Belgium and Holland, and it's that kind of thing that teaches them the racecraft that wins them races, because it's not all about the legs.
No, I think that is a fact. Like you were saying, they learn from earlier age how to think cycling, because it isn't all about being strong. And it took me, I was more than 22, 23 years old when I started to realize, like, oh, I actually need to be a bit smart as well, because otherwise I'm never going to win a road race.
Yeah.
Being a mountain biker, a former cross-country skier, it was all about power, showing when you are strong, you can make result. And then I started racing on the road, and suddenly I couldn't understand. I would attack, and they would bring me back, and I attacked, and they brought me back, and then I would lose in the sprint. And it was a lot of frustration going on. But as I started to understand the tactical game, it suddenly became something more. It was not just about racing anymore. It was like the whole package it had. And as well, when I got to go with the Swedish national team for the first time, and I realized it's actually a team sport.
Yeah.
It's not individual anymore. We were standing together at the start line, and we had a plan together. We were going to create the winning move, and I think that was what I really loved about road racing. It just, well, I always did individual sports, and then suddenly it was something much more. And once you start to get a grip of that tactical game as well, it just takes it to another level.
It kind of frustrates me that so much of the talk is about form and a rider's legs and how strong they are. And whilst I appreciate you need the legs and you need the form and the fitness, it is, a lot of it is in the head. Not only getting that form and fitness, but it's the way you navigate and negotiate the race, isn't it? You've got to know how to race a bicycle.
Yeah, it
Otherwise
is. I
anyone
think
can
it's really about the combination, finding the best form you can create, and then if you believe in it and you have a good plan, you have a team that can back you up, and then you have the full package. Hopefully.
I often think it's a bit cruel that one rider takes all the plaudits when it's so much of a team effort. I often think that's a bit cruel, and of course it's reflected in the regulations where riders take UCI points, and if they leave the team, they take those points with them, and there's nothing really for the team. They may have developed that rider and they get nothing from it. They get nothing.
No.
Let's use the example of Kasia Niewiadoma, who has a substantial amount of points on the UCI's ranking system. And when she moves next year to Canyon SRAM, it's Canyon SRAM that have those points. I wonder if that's something that perhaps the UCI should be looking at in the future. I mean, it happens it's not just in the women's side of the sport that it happens, but it is something that affects the sport, I think. And
what is that it's the same for everyone. It's the same for every rider. It's the same for every team. But yeah, maybe it needs to be looked at. Maybe it should even be a thing where they split the points. The team, half to the team, half to the rider. But this is how it's been forever, and everybody knows that that's what happens.
I think the UCI,
I never thought about it.
Yeah, The UCI have done something about having points, UCI points, not World Tour points, further down the stage and race rankings. But I don't know if that's the answer. Well, we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah.
There's Monique Teniglo has just taken a turn on the front. She's back there after putting a lot of energy out yesterday. She's another rider that looks fantastic on a bike because she's tall. She has this lovely flat back on the bike, nice and aero.
Yeah, see now, Marianne has almost the whole team working at the front, and we can see also that the time is very stable. It hasn't gone any bigger, no, so it stays around 3:10, and I think at the moment they do feel that they have control, but once you enter the circuit, it's always going to be a bit chaotic. And it's also difficult to keep your team together because it's so technical, and if the attacking starts, it's going to be impossible for these 4 WM3 riders to keep on working in the front, bringing the breakaway back once they enter this circuit. So I think I would want to bring it back to maybe a minute and a half before entering the circuit.
And we enter the circuit after 133 kilometres. That's with 25 1/3 kilometres remaining. You certainly don't want a 3-minute gap with only 25 kilometres left to go, especially on a tight, where, as you say, the team can't give you what they can on an open road like this.
No, and now they already been working for quite a lot of kilometers. I'm sure that in the beginning of the race as well, when it was a lot of attacks, WM3, they had to go with the moves and have a look and see who's in this break. Can we let it go? Is it safe? Is it a dangerous breakaway or not? And so they already spend a lot of energy, and coming in for this this final, it's going to be a lot of tired legs there, and it might be that Marianne is going to have to do a lot of work on her own.
And then, of course, as we've already explained, that there's the tactical option of other riders attacking her and trying to get time on her on GC. So that's what I love about cycling. It's just such a multifaceted sport.
What is with the yellow jersey, though, is that it gives you some extra superpower. Yeah. It's something that you can dig a little bit deeper than you could do on another day. It's the last stage. She has the yellow.
And if there's any rider in the world who is mentally strong enough to deal with it, it's Marianne.
She's been in this situation a lot of times, and we could see her signing in this morning with the focus in her eyes.
I mean, this race has been dominated by her team, and this is the 4th edition, and the 1st and the 3rd edition were all 3 general classification podium places were taken by Rabo Liv. And the first year she took 2 stages of the race, though she didn't win it. It was won by Anna van der Becken. But it's been a sort of lockout for her team, and it doesn't look like it's going to be that way this year, though it does look as if they can still win it. But Voss is that's a horrible word, winningest rider in Ladies Tour of Norway history. She's won 2 stages. Obviously, she hasn't won a stage here yet, but she won 2 stages in that first year, so with the prologue and stage 2, which was at the Fredriksen Fortress, which is a big castle above Halden here, and which they go through as they enter the circuits here today.
I love that circuit. It was a very hard one. It was, like you say, it was on the top of this fortress up there, and it was a really hard one.
Do you think it might enliven the race if that were reintroduced into the final circuits around the town? You know, 4 laps to include that.
Yeah, it would. I think what they do today as well, it's by pulling off like such a long stage, that also wears you out. And even though it's no very like long climb on this local circuit, it's still tired girls out there and coming in, even though it's only 2 steeper pinches, but it's a lot of twisty and cornery, and it's 4 times that they have to do this lap. I'm sure that it's going to make it hard enough, and they don't need to ride up to the fortress to make.
And it's the efforts of closing the gaps at each corner, is those sprints, those full power sprints, isn't it? You know, to stay on the wheel.
Yeah.
The gap is beginning to come down now. We're down to 2 minutes and 48 seconds. So they've lopped off 20 seconds in the last 2 or 3 kilometres since Teniglo went to the front, indeed. It shows that she's coming into some real form.
Yes, she was. We saw her very strong yesterday as well, and she was, yeah. Look how pretty that is.
It is pretty, yeah. It is a lovely part of the country. It's not. I think I said earlier in the week, Norway's one of those countries I've always wanted to come to, and it hasn't actually let me down yet. Especially with the salmon, some of which I have here.
Yeah, enjoy.
Bulls Dolmans are sat up near the front there with Megan Garnier, and I think that's Jip van den Bos is 5th or 6th wheel, just behind the WM3 train. She's just recovering from a training accident where she broke her arm, so this is she hasn't had many race days recently.
The fact that it is the 4th stage for the girls, and the race is so long, it's that, oh, here's some problem with the chain. Oh, yeah, watch out for the fingers. Oh, she needs to stop. Yeah, it's better to correct it standing still. You don't want to take any risk.
Has her derailleur broken? I can't really see there, but
no, it looked like her
team car's there.
That was the neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it back.
It was okay. Ooh.
I thought that was her team car that went past, but
I think that was the Australian team.
Ah, yeah. I'd be a bit disappointed if my team car drove past me.
If I was the 2 girls in the front, I would just wait.
Sit up.
Wait for sit up and wait for her to come back, because obviously, yeah, they need her.
Yeah. And she's the strongest of the 3, without
Yes,
doubt.
she is, and I think to be able to keep this this time difference a little bit before entering these circuits, I definitely would want to have the company from Davia. Like back to what I was saying, how important it is to fuel up and to get to drink enough and to do all that right, because unless you do that, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah. And it's easy to forget to do that, isn't it? With your focus on what you're trying to achieve, it's easy for people to forget occasionally, isn't it?
It doesn't look like they're waiting for her.
No.
No.
I wonder what the Norwegian and Australian team directors are saying in the car. And the gaps, another 20 seconds knocked off the advantage there. And it looks like the peloton are now going that little bit. I think it's the period of descent anyway, but the water you see there is the bottom end of the Idef fjord, which goes up past the Finnish town of Halden, and over which the race started earlier today on the Svinesund bridge. Is my pronunciation okay? Svinesund, it's good, is it?
Yeah, it's very good. And then out to the Oslo fjord that leads you, if you go to the right coming out, you come up to Oslo, don't you?
Yeah, and left you'll end up probably in Norwich in Norfolk in England. Stage 1 of the 2016 Women's Tour finish, I seem to recall. No, I'm wrong. Turn left out of the Idef fjord and you hit the north of Denmark. Rachel Neyland won't be, the Orica rider you see there, won't be one of the ones who forgets to eat. She's far too experienced for that, isn't she?
Yeah, I think most of the riders here, they are used to this, and they do have a plan. Everyone has their routines coming into the races. They more or less they bring the same things every race they do, and they eat things around the same time like they always do. So it's a lot of good routines, and that is the secret behind, I think, being a professional, getting the routines right, and learning to know your body. What do I need to fuel up right and to be fine for the final, and when is the moment to take the gels, for example. And
so is it gels or bars or rice cakes? So what are the best kind of things to have when you're riding a long stage, especially one like this?
I always used to have a bar with me for the first bit, the first hour and a half of the race, and then depending on the length of course and how many days you've been racing, but for like a one-day race, I would bring a bar for the first hour and a half, and then I would have a gel for the moment when I thought that the race is going to break, and then a gel for the final, and maybe two if it's very necessary or if I drop one. So I would bring 3 gels and a bar. That's what I would bring, and then I would have a sport drink in the bottle.
Because the gels give you much quicker energy, don't they? But it dissipates out of your body a bit quicker, I think.
Yes, and it's very important. What is easy to forget is that you need to drink a lot as well to actually have an effect from that gel, and it's not enough just to sweep it.
Yeah.
You need to also give it some water to have the body to take it up, you know.
I think if I were to award a most aggressive rider of the entire 4 days, I would give it to Monique Teniglo. I think we've seen her on the front so much, doing so much work. It's easy to, we talked about teams a bit earlier, but it's easy to forget. I don't think Mariana will forget how much work her team have put in for her.
No, I think everyone is always so grateful for their teammates, and behind a GC win is always a very strong team, and I would say like Lea Kirchmann, she's been really aggressive in my point of view, the way that she's been attacking, and I think the whole Sunweb has really raced aggressive this 4 days, and we've seen them being up there all the time and really playing their cards.
Yeah, they're a much transformed team over the last few years. Before they were trying to take opportunities, perhaps it's disingenuous, but taking opportunities from other people's work, and now they're creating their own opportunities. And we saw that right from the beginning of the season, the first European race of the season at Omloop Nieuwsblad, when Ellen van Dijk and Lucinda Brand were in the break, and they were the ones dictating it, and they were the ones that took the win. And ever since, we've seen a team of huge confidence, with Corinne Rivera taking 3 World Tour wins. It's been very, very, very impressive. And what I like about them is how committed they are to their women's team. Obviously, they're an organisation with 2 teams, a men's team and a women's team, but those two teams seem intertwined. They're one in the same. They train, they go on training camps together. I understand they have the same team house down in the south of the Netherlands, but their commitment to their riders of handing out long contracts as well. We've seen riders signing four-year contracts, which is unheard of in the sport, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. We've got riders like Kirschman, like Rivera, and I think the first contract of that length they handed out was to Floortje Mackay a couple of years ago, and that just shows the riders. It gives them the opportunity to develop without having that fear of losing their job, and I think that's truly fantastic what they're doing in the sport.
Yes, you have a very good point there. Just to see them to stay for so many years in the team, like you can develop in a more comfortable way, and like for the team as well, when they are investing in a rider, it's I think it's also nice for them to know that I'm going to be able to keep her for at least a couple of years, and to see them grow. It's always I think that is a little bit special.
They've got some young riders in whom they've shown a lot of confidence as well, who have, you know, who are real stars of the future. I'm talking Juliette Lebu, who's here, and also Leanne Lippert. Yeah, they're two young riders who have joined a team that are committed to women's cycling, and that's what we want to see. We want to see teams with long-term plans. Those teams with long-term plans are those teams that will both drive the sport forward, but also they allow their riders to develop, as we've already said. Just saw the Ale Cipollini car finally being allowed past the peloton to get up behind their rider.
Yeah, she still hasn't made it. Like,
No.
She's just here in front of. We haven't got a gap how far behind the two leaders she is, but might be that she also needs some feeding and just to support her a bit and maybe give her some positive feedback, or to tell her whether
she's dropping back by the look of it. I think now she's on her own. That's a shame. But they've had that gap for a long time, and it's a shame that the Ale Cipollini car have only now been allowed through to get behind their rider, and having left it, you know, they've had a gap of up to 3 minutes for.
But it's all, I think
40K.
But it might be a choice they make as well, that they want to stay in case. Now they had Chloe winning the sprint yesterday. Maybe they hope that it's a possibility, and they still have the biggest part of the team back in the pack, in the peloton. So sometimes it's always a risk. Are you gonna stay behind the peloton, or go up to a rider in the front? And sometimes they even talk to each other, the teams, and try to help each other. Okay, if I go up, I can look after the riders in the front, and if you are back here, then you can help us if something happens to our riders. So I think it's the teams are really good in helping each other like that.
They do that, yeah. I mean, the gap's now down to 2:20. There's a sort of rule of thumb of 1 minute for every 10 kilometres. Are the break going to make it, or you know, WM3 have been having to work a long time on their own on the front there. It's getting a bit touch and go, but if you were to take that rule of thumb, 1 minute, 10 kilometres, they're comfortable, aren't they? The peloton are happy they're going to catch them.
I think for sure it's not going to be a big time, even if they can stay away for a long time. I still believe they are quite sure that it's going to come back in the end, and still 30 plus kilometers to the finish line, but
only 6 kilometres till they come into the circuit. And as we've already said, you know, that the circuit is tight and twisty, and that reduces their ability to catch the break, doesn't it? So
yeah, a situation that can happen is that you enter the circuit, it's being raced aggressive, a smaller group goes with Marianne, maybe Ellen, you have Leah Kirchmann there, you have Catherine Garfoot, and a couple of more riders. But if Marianne is there alone, what is everyone going to do? And they still haven't caught the two leaders back. Are they going to make Marianne do the chase on her own, or are they going to help her? That is the dangerous part here.
Because if you help too much, then you may well be handing the victory and the GC to Marianne. But if you don't help at all,
you might lose your
everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Danny King of Silence Pro Cycling has moved to the front, and the absolute machine that is Linda Willemsen on the right-hand side in the Vela Concept. And here we can see that that Lisen Hawkins, who is the Oceania
she's decided to go
Women's
on her
Elite
own.
champion, yeah. Or is she just dropping the Norwegian rider Moe? What do you know about Moe?
Not too much, to be honest.
Yeah, but it does look like Moe is really struggling with her effort, and she's starting to grind at the pedals a little bit, and Hawkins looks to be relatively comfortable and still spinning it up. There's a pain face coming there for Moe, sadly.
So this is a thing, if you're not experienced enough or you don't have the good routines, the closer to the final you come, the more it hurts. And if you haven't fueled up enough, the legs start to hurt a lot earlier than the ones we know. Lisen, she's an experienced rider.
Yeah, I mean, development teams, national teams aren't always just about development. Lisen is a more senior rider at 38 years old.
But the gap is coming down, and obviously, and of course, in the front, it might look strange that the Australian, that she choose to leave the Norwegian behind, but if you feel like you can't get any help anymore, then maybe it is better to continue on her own. If you feel that you're actually not, or she's slowing you down, then
yeah, you've got to go.
Maybe
for
that it must have been that was she. Otherwise, she would not do what she did. You can see now, Orica, they're actually pushing the pace in the front.
Yeah. So they have two options, don't they? They have Katrin Garfoot, who's the Australian champion, who's out of the saddle, powering away there. But they also have Gracie Elvin, who is absolutely perfectly suited to a circuit like this.
It's a perfect circuit for Gracie.
She's a proper gnarly classics rider, isn't she? And
they're really looking for revenge after yesterday. I think yesterday they had a really good plan, but the way it unfolded, it was impossible to go through with what happened. And you can see now they're using the younger riders from their team, bringing back this breakaway, and they're probably looking to set her up for a good attack and maybe a stage winning move.
do you think Katrin is the kind of woman for this finish, or is it down to Gracie?
It is definitely a finish, a circuit for Gracie.
Yeah. And Paul Stolman's moving up on the left there with Amelia Didriksen, with Chantal Black, and
the whole team. Sunweb is also lined up.
Sunweb there. We've got Bulls, the rest of Bulls sitting just behind Sunweb. But this is starting to get interesting now as the teams get themselves into formation and the gap is coming down. It's on 2 minutes now. In the last 10 or 12 kilometres, they've taken 1 minute and 10 seconds out of the lead. And you've now just got the lone rider on the front, and she's going to really struggle. We've got a stiff breeze blowing up the fjord here.
Soon they're about to go in, and actually past this fortress as well before
Yeah.
they come into the local circuit. And like we've seen before, all these previous stages as well, is how important the positioning is when they come into the circuit, and how difficult, if you're in the back, how much energy you need to spend to make your way up to the front.
Yeah. And talking of which, Jannica Ensing bringing Chloe Hosking. Jannica Ensing wearing the polka dot jersey, the Haldenkanal and climbers jerseys, just bringing up Chloe Hosking, who is, as she's in second place in the points classification, she's wearing the green jersey.
As they turn left into the Fredriksten fortress.
Yeah, you can see the road sign there on the right-hand side. They're now turning into the fortress, and so they're very, very close to coming into Halden itself.
You see it's really going down the gap.
To Slater, she's back in the bunch with Katrin Garfoot launching an attack off the front. You've got Megan Garnier going with her, and Floortje Mackay just being dropped by Garnier. And back goes to Slater. She's back in the peloton. Got 28 kilometres left to race, and the rider's just coming into the Finnish town of Halden. The fortress was built many years ago as part of the Swedish wars with the Norwegians. Obviously, they have a long border together, and the fortress was built, in fact, by one of the kings of Denmark, King Frederick III of Denmark, to prevent the Swedes coming into the town. Way back in the 1700s. It's you've been up there, haven't you? It's a beautiful place.
Yes, I have. It's a beautiful place. And it's very technical. You can see now Lisen Hawkins leading the race with a bit more than a minute and a half, and it is very twisting and turning, and it is on the top just outside the town, and it's really a lot of up and down. It's almost you can see also the asphalt is not super.
Yeah. Does that asphalt, I mean, when I'm riding a motorbike or a push bike, I am so careful on bad surfaces. I think I'm overly careful, but is that something you think of, or you just trust
here's
your
another
bike?
attack.
Who's that? And Megan going straight on the wheel there.
Is that Rachel Neyland?
Yeah.
Megan is following it up.
Yeah,
you can also see Georgia Bronsina from Wiggle High
Yeah, and
Five.
Tiffany Cromwell right in there. She's taking that descent very, very well, Lisa Hawkins there.
Yes, now she's on her way to come down into the entrance.
Circuit, yeah.
Yes, of the circuit.
And there you can see on the right-hand side of your screens, you can see the fortress here above the city of Halden, and just how green and beautiful the whole area is. And the bridge you can see just disappearing out the picture is one of the bridges that is on the circuit that they'll be going into very, very shortly.
A bridge that can't be open, eh?
No, it can't be opened. It's
No.
just a normal bridge.
Yes.
Oh. It's always exciting when you're at a bicycle race. You can hear the helicopters hovering above. It always raises the heartbeat that little bit. Winding their way back down from the fortress into town.
Oh, it's a very long peloton at the moment,
Yeah.
and the damage that Orica Scott has made now by first putting the pace at the front and then launching the attacks, it's bringing down the distance to the leader. It's only down to a minute and a half, or a minute 15, like I was talking to. It can't be any more than this if they would still be together, but now she's alone, and it's going to be a hard work for her to stay away.
And actually, when you look at her going round the bend, she isn't as confident as perhaps she might be there.
So the entrance of the circuit is just a couple of 100 meters after the finish line, so
we haven't crossed the line yet.
No.
The first cross of the line here, it will be the final intermediate sprint of the whole race. So there will be points and seconds on the line. So it's in the interests of all to bring her back, and you can see there that she just has about a very short advantage, or sorry, that's Neylan has a short advantage on the peloton. Will Vos be thinking about these bonus seconds, or is she happy? You know, she's got a lead of 12 seconds on Yelindora.
Yeah, I think at the moment that she's just focusing on staying in the front and not letting anyone dangerous right away and for the final.
I mean, she wins the stage, it looks after herself. If she finishes
Yes.
top 3 in the stage, she finishes, it looks after herself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As long as no one takes seconds off her.
You see the peloton coming into the entrance of the circuit.
And it's the opening part of this circuit that is really technical, isn't it? Whereas the second part of the circuit is more open. It actually takes in the route of the prologue from Thursday evening. This opening part is the technical part. And with the descent having split the peloton, or at least stretched it, this could be where the gaps are really opened up, yeah? This is a really brave effort here by Hockings, and I think she could well be going home with some salmon.
I think so too.
The Australian team, I understand, are heading off to Plouay, so hopefully they'll get it eaten before they get there. Neylan there, and you can see this is one of the digs, that one of the short, sharp digs that out of the saddle that you have to take to maintain your pace, and onto a stretch of cobbles here. They actually descend on cobbles for a little while, don't they?
Yeah, that's later on. But this section is the first section that is narrow, and you can see Hawkins, she's on the first steep pinch, and she really needs to dig. Here you can see how steep it is.
Yeah, she's in a pretty small gear there. I think she might even be in her smallest gear. Yeah, her legs are tired through. And there you can see her changing gear there with the change in the cadence. And the road is not open. There is a pavement in between there, so there hasn't been some security issue. She's pushing a big gear. She doesn't seem as fluid now on the pedals, does she?
It is it's a difficult circuit, because it's up and down the whole time, and you just need to find the right gears and find the flow, and of course being in the breakaway for so long, and it wears you out. And you can also see Rachel Neylan, how steep that climb is.
And Neylan's at...
it's only short, luckily, but it is steep.
Yeah, Neylan's at 52 seconds, so I don't think there's any issue with GC here, but they will certainly want to keep her relatively close at hand.
That's
Majerus attacking
leading,
there on the
yes.
front, yeah. And there's a little...
Marianne is sitting far down in that pinch.
Yeah.
You can see her on the left in that yellow jersey.
Spinning to try and get back on there. And this is the cobble descent, and you said that there's a lot of green. You can see the green between the cobbles, so it's fortunate that we haven't got any wet roads anymore. They've all dried out after this morning's downpour.
Yes, I'm very glad that it's dry out there, because when I was out doing a lap this morning in the car, it didn't look too tempting.
No.
No.
I remember you telling me once when I admitted that I'd never ridden on cobbles, you said you can't be a real cyclist then.
So you need to come to Belgium.
Yeah.
You still haven't been. You see Rachel Neylan is now entering that cobbled section.
She's just catching the Norwegian rider who is, you know, we'd nearly forgotten about. She's been stuck in no man's land for a little while. She'll breeze straight past, I imagine. Just taking that tiny bit of advantage off her wheel, and
yeah.
And Neylan hasn't had a win for quite some time now. Her best recent result was second at Erpamera. Is that how I say it?
Yes, Rondegem's Pale in Erpamere. But you can see that the moment where Rachel Neylan caught the Norwegian Ingrid Moe back, it was actually quite a good moment for Ingrid to be brought back, because she managed to actually get in the wheel from Rachel. Even though she seemed to be struggling so much, she still managed to to find her wheel and to stay there. And at the moment, we can see the whole Bulls Dolmans at the front, looking to race aggressive. And we saw Majorus attacking up that steam pitch, and I could also see now Chantal Black joining her in the front. And
the gap is very close now. I'm not sure if it's going to be the 46 seconds that they're showing, but it's getting a bit closer. I think it's closer than what they're saying. That's and this is the flat bit that was part of the prologue from the other night, which was won by Ellen van Dijk. And you can see there the peloton are right on them, right on the on Neylan and the Norwegian girl. Is that someone gone off the front? Yes. Or is that Sunweb working on the front?
That's Chantal Blaak trying to bridge
Chantal,
across to Rachel.
In the Bulls Dolmans rider in her Dutch national champions kit. She's a strong rider. Strong rider.
Very strong.
And could quite easily get across the Neylan. You know, two experienced heads working together.
You can see the Norwegian Ingrid. She is struggling a bit with this, but then the peloton is there.
And that's Vos there. Vos is chasing. She's got Sheila Gutierrez, the Spanish national champion from Silence, on her wheel, and Vos is bringing it back with. I can't see.
Mika Krüger up there as well. It's, it looks like.
Neylan knows the game's up there. She's a wise, experienced rider.
As she goes under the last kilometer flag. Coming in now for this finished passage.
Yeah.
It's the sprint.
Yes, it is, yeah. And not only are there 3, 2 and 1 seconds available for the general classification on the sprint, it's the points classification as well, where there are 5, 3 and 1 points on offer for the rider that gets across the line first. Here she comes.
Yes,
Lisa Hocking is just coming underneath us now. She's crossing the line. Just crossing the line now. We'll just stick a clock on this and see how long it takes for the first rider of the peloton. There's still plenty of cars in between the in between her and the chasers. Neyland's still with a gap. She's still got a gap as she turns left into the finish road.
Oh, but the peloton is close.
Yeah.
And it's Amelie Didriksen that is attacking the front at the moment. And
so Neyland is 31 seconds behind, and the peloton are just 4 seconds behind Neyland herself as they all pass under here for the intermediate sprint, which was won by the Australian rider Lisa Hawkins.
With Rachel Neyland on second, and Alison Jackson, who was third.
Alison Jackson. The peloton is split in 2 parts. You've just got a second group of probably 25 riders passing, and on the back of that is Anushka Costa, her work all done, having been working very hard for her team leader Mariana Vos all day. All the team cars are streaming through now underneath us, and then we have Jenna Korovar passing us as well. Her work done for WM3, and Deva Tusilaita, who was so brave in the break up till so recently, and that mechanical. More riders still passing us under the clock, but meanwhile under the finish line. But meanwhile, we've got riders. A big group is still chasing on. Gap coming down now to under 30 seconds. You can see there Hawkins, Neyland and Jackson taking the points and the seconds for the intermediate sprint, but those won't have any effect on the general classification today. What a sight. The sun is out and we've got people opposite us. They'll need sun cream with the sun shining right on them. There's a few beers, lots of mobile phones and cameras.
And a lot of girls that are hurting, hey?
And sunglasses as well, believe it or not.
Oh, they are. They can see Rachel Neyland. The peloton is. They have her inside.
Yeah.
as it stops up.
Seems to just have eased back there with Katrin Garfoot on her right foot. You've got behind them, you've got Nivea Doma and Monique Teniglo. Whilst Hockings is still at the front, still tackling these little digs.
Oh, you can see it's almost, they're almost standing still going up that. It's only short, but it is very, very steep.
Oh,
and another
18.
attack.
Who's that? That's a Bull Stallman's off the front, isn't it? Is it
It looked
Black
like
again?
Megan Gagne.
Right.
That's what it looked like.
Right.
And then I could see Giorgia Bronzini was with her.
Right. So
from
Bronzini and Gagne would easily, if they were allowed, be able to get away and build a lead, but it's just not happening. And again, a split in the peloton. Is that Voss on the back?
It looks like it's Kasia Nuadoma bringing that back with... is that Chantal Bloch?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's have a look where Hawkins, she's on the cobbled section now, going back towards the city centre.
And the gap now well under control for the peloton here, down to 15 seconds that Hawkins has over just the front of that chasing group. With Nayland still powering away, she still looks pretty good there. You know, she seems to be coping pretty easily with the cobbles and with the incline.
It's slightly down here as well, that
Right.
cobble section. So you
It
bring a
looked
lot
uphill
of
there.
speed into
Yeah.
it.
The motorbike needs to get out of the way here, yeah. 12 seconds now, the gap, 18 kilometres left to ride of the final stage of the Ladies Tour of Norway. And we can see a group there led by Chantal Black is just coming in towards to catch Rachel Nayland. Hocking still with a gap, but she doesn't want to look over her shoulder now. She'll see riders gently closing down on the gap, and you'll see that the gap that small group had has now been eroded, and there's a big group chasing them down. Brave move here from Nayland, trying to get across.
I think
4 riders, and then the peloton being led there by Mariana Voss. She'll be using a lot of effort there, and on her shoulder was just on her wheel now is the Dutch champion, is it Chantal Black, being told not to work, leave it to Voss, leave the work to Voss, so she wears herself out.
but in that group of 4, I could actually see Teniglo and Nuadoma from Marianne's team.
But all they'll do is surely disrupt the move. They won't work. They'll just try and disrupt. They'll take through to the front, and then they'll slow off the pedals, won't they?
Yeah, I don't think they will. Here you can see it's already back together.
Yeah.
It's Megan Gagne still leading the peloton.
And Nayland's still off the front.
She's about to bring back Hawkins now. And,
Yeah, she's got a bit of an advantage there from that motorbike. It's not her fault, it's the motorbike's fault, as far as I'm concerned. And another group just nipping off the front there. The sun is so bright that we're unable to see who it is. Looks like Christine Majerus on the front there. Is that Voss on the inside? No. There's Garnier still on the front there. Can you see Voss? I can't see it.
Can't.
I think she's fairly well down. She'll be happy with her position, I would imagine.
As they go under the kilometer band, coming in, passing the finish line now, it's 2 laps to go.
Yeah. It's three laps to go, because
yeah.
each of the laps is 5.1
see.
kilometres.
I haven't done my work right.
And Hocking's now sitting on, and I don't blame her, sit on Nayland's wheel. I should imagine she'll take a little second to recover and then try and help, yeah?
And I think Hawkins, she probably wishes it was 2 to go.
Yeah, yeah, or 1 to go, probably. So we've got a big group of riders there just chasing down. Hocking's now being dropped by Nayland.
Yeah,
Nayland's an experienced rider. She's been around a long time. She's just coming towards the finish line now.
Yeah, like we talked about before, to stay with a rider that doesn't contribute to the work, which obviously Hawkins, she is tired out there. She's been a long time in the breakaway, and as the peloton is passing, we see Monique Teneglo in the front doing the chase for Marianne.
Have you the time in a tight circuit like this just now as a team to say, no, right, we're now going to change our tactic, we're going to leave it to WM3. They're here, Voss is here, she's got teammates, it's down to you now. It's not, because we saw Megan on the front for a little while there, they'll be leaving it back to Teneglo.
Yes, at least until they enter that technical circuit again. We've seen how aggressive they raced, but we also see every time they come in for the last kilometre and a half, that the peloton does come back together, but this and back to Rachel not being
a threat,
a very big threat in the GC. But still, you can't give her too much space because she's very strong, and they know how experienced she is. But the peloton is coming in here, and they can see her. They have her in sight.
Just to remind you, Nayland has 52 seconds on GC. And here with just under 15 kilometres to go, she's a lead of around 20 seconds. And Monique Teneglo again on the front with Lotte Lepisto, the Finnish champion, riding for Savella Bigler there. Linda Willemsen from Vela Concept, the Danish team.
Rachel sneaking over the shoulder, seeing if she can see them.
I imagine it looks like perhaps Willemsen will try and launch something at some stage and get in her aero tuck and just... she's another good rider to watch because she only moves below the hips. Completely stock still. There's no wasted effort at all. Teneglo burying herself there on the front.
And I can also see Gracie Elvin, like we talked about before, from Orica Scott, how she's in 5th position, just waiting to back Rachel Nayland up if she needs to, and cover the moves, the attacks, and just be annoying for the ones that are trying to jump across.
Oh, there's a crash there for...
from Confalonieri.
Confalonieri. She's a good sprinter, Confalonieri. It's a shame to see her go down.
And that's
only a young
deep
woman.
pinch. Oh, but we can see the peloton coming. Is that Linda Willemsen? I think that we're going to see a counter-attack from Gracie Elvin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Willemsen on the front there, look, out the saddle.
And then you have...
but she can put down a massive amount of power in the saddle. It's just she's such a strong rider. And it's great to see her back in the peloton. She was with United Healthcare in the US last year, and then sort of in no man's land without a team up until very recently, and then joined Vela Concept, and now she's back and dictating at the front of her race. And as you can see, the gap down is very small. Willemsen's let it down. These circuits have made for exciting racing at the end of each stage, haven't they?
Yes, they are.
What will she be asking now, or will someone be talking to her in her ear, and she's just trying to get it clarified? She won't have time to talk unless she has to, will she?
Yeah, someone would have said something or asked, or maybe she was asking, is someone there? they have, I think they have a really clear plan today to go on the attack. And once Rachel is back, it's a good moment for another one to go. But for Gracie, I think she would really want to, if Rachel can stay away,
well, Gracie's
past the finish line, and just as they enter the technical part again, if
Gracie
Rachel
goes.
Yes,
Yeah.
because for her to attack on this easy part of the last kilometer and a half, it's not what she does best. But you can also see now the peloton is stopping up, and the gap for Rachel, and that's probably what Gracie was asking her to keep on riding and keep pushing the pedals.
Yeah. Elvin's 27 seconds down, and in 11th place. In 15th place, sorry, and Katrin Garfert, a teammate, is only in 5th and 19 seconds down, but it's just the type of rider each of them is, isn't it, that makes it Elvin that you think they'll go for.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely a circuit that suits so well.
They have two options, don't they?
They do.
Garfert's
at the moment they have three.
Yeah, and Garfert's a fantastic time trialist in her own right, so perhaps her give a go. And it's a bit of a...
Yeah, I would say that. If it would get brought back now, I would love to see an attack then from Katrin Garfoot, and that Gracie could follow that up.
And Voss is a little bit further back than you'd expect her to be at this moment. And here we go with Sabrina Stultins, I think, Shayla Gutierrez. And Suzanne Anderson in her best Norwegian jersey.
Yes, it's Leah Kirchmann again.
That's Leah, is it?
She's been on fire this tour.
Yeah.
And you can see Tiffany Cromwell behind trying to chase it down with Majerus in her wheel.
Yeah, and Nivea Doma behind there, and Katrin Garfert. And
then
still
Megan
Asino Voss.
Oh, she was a little bit further back in that group. But now I'm right. When they come in here, it's 2 more laps.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see that young Norwegian rider, Susanne Andersen, how she keeps being up there in the front. She's done some really good results this week, and to show this strength of managing positioning, and also this, it's a very craving circuit actually, with these hills and also the cobble sections, and it's very aggressive as well.
For a 19-year-old to be up in that position in such company is really promising, isn't it?
Very promising. It's another attack from top spot Flandern.
Yeah. That's a decent attack there, coming across. But Willemsen on the front of the peloton. They'll be racing for Christina Sigard, I guess, as a sprinter.
Yes.
And here comes Nayland.
Oh, she's clenching her teeth.
And on this occasion, she just has 7 seconds ahead of the top sport rider and the peloton, who are right on top of the top sport rider herself.
And that was Kelly van den Steen from top sport, or Sport Flandern, who was attacked. Do we see another attack there to the right?
Yeah. Is that somewhere?
Is that Ellen van Dijk?
Yes.
No, it's Floortje Mackay.
And
It's Floortje Mackay.
with Amelia Farlin on her wheel, or trying to get across to her wheel, yeah.
And there Marianne was a little bit better in position this time. She was not far from the top of the group.
So who would you have now for your most aggressive rider? Would you have
everyone.
Nayland, or would you have Hockings? Just that's Tiffany Cromwell, I think. They're just easing back, waiting for someone to come past her, and that'll let the rest of the group get back on her wheel. Nayland again.
Oh, it was a good attack from Floortje Mackay.
Yeah, but it's a fantastic performance from Nayland.
Even though she's been struggling during the whole spring, she's been home in Australia trying to fix her back. That's been a big problem for her, and to see her come back and still be able to make such a race.
Yeah. It's a statement of intent, isn't it? I mean, she's a great rider, and she's dictating a race here and giving a lot to her team. And Sheila Gutierrez again, is that her strength, or is she more a sprinter? Looks like Majerus on the front is quite happy with what's going on, or alternatively, she's waiting for someone to come through.
But she has also Catherine Garfoot straight in her wheel, just waiting for the moment where she can launch her attack. Oh, is this the second last time now after this deep pinch for everyone?
Oh, look at that. That's someone fighting with everything they've got. And just sucked in by the peloton. You've got Majerus.
You have Garfoot, you have Kaisa Nuadoma, you have Emilia Felin. In around 12th position, you have Marianne Vos with that yellow jersey.
So how big's the group going to be that comes to the line here then, Emma?
Don't ask me all these difficult questions. This is racing when it's the best. I love the attack game.
There's another rider off the front there. I can't see who that is. Is it Florchik Mackay again? Majerus on her wheel, just getting back to her wheel. And onto the cobbled section for the penultimate time. We see another
attack.
Here
comes Ellen.
Ellen van
Here
Dijk.
comes Ellen. Oh, the powerhouse Ellen, hey?
And
with
Linda
Willemsen.
Yeah.
The two of them away would be a dangerous duo.
Could bring back an express train, I think.
Oh, she's so
even
strong.
Willemsen can't get on her wheel there. Van Dijk is 12 seconds back on GC. So this could be really, really dangerous for Vos, who again is just slipped down the pack a little bit. This is setting up for a final lap attack. It would be a neat symmetry if Van Dijk managed to pull this off, having won the prologue on the same finish line just a few days ago. And we've seen her all season long dictating races with her immense power. If not setting them up for herself, she's been setting them up for teammates like Lucinda Brand, Corinne Rivera, have all taken wins off the back of Anna van Dijk's incredible power. Neyland is just crushed here. She's crushed by that power.
That's a really good attack.
That's a big attack, and you've got Bulls Dolmans on the front. I can't see who that is. Is it
It's
Pawlowska?
Megan Gagne.
It's Megan, is it? And straight round the outside.
Oh, this is going to be a hard one. Come on, Rachel.
She's not going to hold the wheel. She's just the amount of time she's been out. I don't think she's going to be able to hold the wheel.
Is that Marianne Vos in the front?
Yes, it is.
She's
Marianne
doing
Vos
the
in
lead
front,
now.
yeah.
She
And so
realised how dangerous this situation is.
This is working into the hands of Bulls Dolmans, but I just don't think they're going to manage to get the gap, or even wiggle high five with Jolien Dora. Just 12 seconds down at the same gap as Ellen van Dijk. But it's all down to bonus seconds. Is Jolien Dora still there? Katrin Garfoot is only 19 seconds. Then there's Katrin sat on the wheel of Marianne Vos. I don't see Jolien Dora in those top positions. There's Giorgia Bronzini.
Yes, a little bit
on
further
Georgia's
back.
wheel is Chloe Hosking, yesterday's stage winner.
Yes. Oh, you can see Marianne. She needs to do this herself.
Yeah.
And that is hurting. You can see it's that Kaisa Nuadoma in 4th position. She can't even make it up. Of course, she wants to help Marianne, but She's already been working a lot as well, and even though she's still there, she can't go to the front to help her.
It's testament to the power that Marianne Vos has, is that she is controlling this gap to the possibly the most powerful rider in the world, Ellen van Dijk. That shows just how, and she did a similar thing at Heridsbergen Hike, in that she crossed to a group that contained van Dijk and then won the sprint. So this isn't beyond Marianne Vos, even with no help from the rest of the peloton.
You see, Marianne, she was talking on the radio, asking, is someone here? I need help, I need help. And only when Marianne lets go of the power of the pedals, it's the moment where Kaisa can make it to the front to help her.
I'll tell you who else is here in this sprint. He's Lotte Lepisto, the Finnish national champion for Sabella Bigger, the winner of Forgorda last week.
And the bell for the last lap.
And the time gap is just 3 or 4 seconds. Floortje Mackay is sitting fifth wheel in the peloton there, with Gracie Elvin on her wheel. And it's the last lap, the last 5 kilometres of this year's 2017 Ladies Tour of Norway. The 4th edition of this race in the south of Norway is about to come to its end. The first year this race has been a World Tour race. And Niewiadoma has
It's
gone.
Marianne who's back at the front now.
Is anyone going to manage to get a gap and then get the bonus seconds on Vos? I don't think it's possible.
When
all you need is 2 seconds.
Look, Marianne, she's bringing it back now.
All you need is 2 seconds. Launch an attack once Vos is back on. No one's coming through.
Oh, this is going to make her so vulnerable when they bring this, or if she managed to bring this back. The one who can time that break, if you have some energy left, you need to give it a try. You can see Catherine Garfoot from Orica Scott. She's sitting there in her wheel. She's had a good trip for the whole. She had a teammate up the road the whole time, and I think that we can see Catherine Garfoot going on the fence once.
They've had a brilliant race, Orica Scott. I think they've had a really good race. They've raced really, really well. Tactically, really, really well. Van Dijk still powering on the front. She's got Floortje Mackay behind, but it looks like Mackay is just losing the wheel at the back there.
That was a really good attempt from Ellen van Dijk. And Marianne, she was under the pressure. 7
riders on the front, and then a little group being led there by Linda Willemsen at the back. At the back, you've got Gracie Elvin of that group of 7. You've got Gracie Elvin of Orica Scott. In front of her, she has teammate both Rachel Neylan and Catherine Garfoot. But you've got Megan Garnier sat really, really comfortably in that group. But for me, as it stands at the moment, the stage winner would be Lepisto. She's the best sprinter of this group, even with Black and Majerus coming across there to that group. And Vos being dropped. Is this Vos being dropped here? No, it's Chloe Hosking being dropped there.
Chloe Hosking, she's wearing the green jersey that normally belongs to Marianne. That's why we get a bit confused. Now you can see now Ellen van Dijk in the front with Marianne Vos in her wheel. Behind her is Catherine Garfoot.
Will there be any national loyalties going on here? Will Van Dijk even be thinking that the fact that she's got a fellow Dutch woman on her wheel?
No. Now it's all about your team.
Sat in that group there is Georgia Bronzini of Wiggle High Five, twice world champion. Is sat very, very ominously back there. And
she's been in good position the whole day as well. She hasn't spent too much unnecessary energy.
Just 3 kilometres to go now. The riders just finishing the technical circuit at the back of the town of Holden, and they'll be coming into the more open segment through the shopping centre around the back. And there's an attack there from Catherine Garfoot, attacking the yellow jersey of Marianne Vos. And Megan Garnier sat on the wheel of Vos, not doing a single bit of work, other than the fact that what she's doing is incredibly difficult.
Yes, but this is what I talked about before, how having that, when you're in that yellow jersey, how much extra energy you seem to find. And we've seen Marianne needing to take a lot of the work herself now on the last couple of laps, and it's only 2.5 kilometers to go, and she knows if for her the finish line, the place, the podium for today's stage is not important at all. She just wants
It's
to
just
keep
the
this
GC, isn't it?
jersey.
Yeah. The UCI president, Brian Cookson, is stood out on the steps opposite us, with his windswept hair, watching the action on the big screen. As the riders coming into the final 2 kilometres of this race, it's very, very tense. It's still up for grabs. The general classification is even up for grabs as we come into this final 2 kilometres, and there's just a bit of easing of pace as people look around and see who's there with them and what they can do for themselves or for their team. This is all playing into the hands of Marianne Vos. There's no one off the front.
You can see Gracie Elvin and Gio, Giorgia
looking
Brasini, they are fighting a bit for the wheel from Lotte Lepister. They know she's a really fast sprinter. Well, you can also see Chloe Hosking, she is still there in that orange helmet with the green jersey.
And Tiffany Cromwell, I think that is just coming through on the right-hand side.
Oh, and here goes the attack from Linda Willumsen.
And is anyone going to want to chase that down? No one's going to want to chase that. I can see her winning this from that, with Cassia Niewiadoma moving to the front now.
That is a good attack.
Yeah, that's a great attack, yeah. And she's used a little incline under the tunnel there just to get her pace up. And now you've got Cassia Niewiadoma. They're still leaving Niewiadoma to do the work. She's doing a fantastic job on the front, Niewiadoma, the former Polish champion.
Oh, we're going to see Ellen van Dijk going up the front and launch a long attack, or maybe even
into
bring
the final
Linda back.
kilometre, just going under the Flamme Rouge into the final kilometre, just as they come back into the city centre of Halden.
You see Ellen van Dijk, she has Floortje Mackay in her wheel.
Floortje, she'll lead Floortje out for this one, and the gap is coming back down to Willumsen, and I don't think she's going to make it. Is that Gracie Elvin onto the front there? It's Rachel Neyland. Rachel Neyland just going back to the front after all that work she's done off the front. And her teammate Gracie Elvin is fourth wheel, and Megan Garnier moving up the inside. You've got onto the shoulder of Ellen van Dijk.
Oh, and
Willumsen just taking, and here comes Ellen van Dijk with Megan Garnier right on her wheel.
Oh,
and Marianne Vos trying to close the gap on the right-hand side there. She's closed the gap right onto Garnier's wheel. And once again, it looks like Ellen van Dijk might lead out the final sprint into the finish of the 2007 Ladies Tour of Norway. Ellen van Dijk is powering to the line. Megan Garnier comes over her shoulder. It's Megan Garnier, and Megan Garnier takes the win ahead of Ellen van Dijk and Marianne Vos in third place. Lotte Lepisto was fourth, and Floortje Mackay from Team Sunweb, Van Dijk's teammate, was in fifth position. What a fantastic finish, what a brilliant finish to an exciting stage. These circuits at the end of this race have really, really made it. And Garnier is bagging her second win of the summer to back up her final stage sprint at the Giro Rosa just a few weeks ago. See her clicking back, and Shara Gillow coming in to cross the line. Still wearing her head over, despite the effort and the sunshine. What an exciting finish.
What a race, what a stage. And Megan, she played it so cool. She's been up there all day, but she has also...
She's played a very cute tactical game the whole week. I appreciate that she's not won, but she's certainly moved up. Having started the day 17 seconds down, she'll have 10-second bonus seconds, which should take her ahead of, which won't take her ahead of Ellen van Dijk. So we'll wait for confirmation, but I imagine the general classification will be Marianne Vos with Ellen van Dijk in second and Megan Garnier in third, though we're waiting clarification on that. And here again we see the sprint with tactically Megan Garnier using the curve in the road and Van Dijk's wheel to take the win. That's a really clever sprint there from Garnier.
But Marianne as well, I'm so impressed. Doing the work that she's done, and still being able to be there for that final. And we watched her coming into this final circus. We saw her sitting a bit further back, but sometimes that's also when you sit too far up, people see you, they know you're there, they always let you do the work. And by sitting a bit further back, you can watch the game, you watch the game. And then when you realize, oh, this is a dangerous moment, Ellen is about to ride away, my GC is in danger, I need to do the work myself. She takes the responsibility, she goes up to the front, she brings it back, she gets a little bit ahead from New Adoma, but oh my God, that final lap was
brilliant. It was
epic.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And you know, you talk about Vos, it's not, as I said, it's not just about the legs, it is the way that she applies her physical effort to, that makes her such a fantastic bike racer, such a prolific winner, and makes, you know, the best.
Finish in 18, Chantal Black, the Dutch champion, 19, and Nevia Doma is 20.
Well, I'm just going to be quiet for a little while my heart rate slows down. I think at my age it's not good to get that excited.
It's actually more exciting following the races from the side than being in them. No, more like nervousity. That's
nervous
the
energy. Yeah.
Nervous energy. I don't know. That's word I never get right. I don't know. As a rider, you're always on a mission. You need to think the next step, and you have a plan, and you need to be able to follow your feelings and sitting here on the side, like you have no control. You watch and it's so much excitement.
I'm so sad that sometimes I get excited following a race on Twitter, which is particularly sad. But
it's a bit when it's like the scrolling is hard for you.
It's addictive.
Yeah. And what a place to finish this tour.
Yeah.
Sun is out. The crowds are here.
The race has been really lucky with the weather.
Marianne Vos, congratulations on the overall win in the
race.
Ladies Tour of
Hopefully
Norway.
hear from the race winner, Marianne Vos.
Hard, especially the final, and you expect a lot of attacks, and everything is so close that. But my team did a fantastic job first to chase the first three, and then in the final to control the race. Yeah, happy.
You have won pretty much everything there is to win within women's cycling. What does this victory in the ladies mean to you?
Oh, yeah, it's really special to win a stage race on the Women's World Tour, and yeah, I knew it would be hard, but I also knew I had a chance, and like I say, with the fantastic help, even when you don't have the best day, it's really motivating to go on.
And how has it been racing here in Norway? We have the World Championship in Bergen coming up in just 4 weeks.
Well, we've been lucky with the weather, so I expect an awful lot of rain in Bergen.
Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
And it seems there that Mariana is just as concerned about the weather as we were, and saying how lucky it was. But it seems that the Norwegians have the same obsession with the weather as perhaps we do, the British do.
I think it wouldn't have been like the countryside would not be.
And there's your points classification is Marianne Vos, confirming 37 points, winning it again ahead of Megan Garnier and Chloe Hosking. The mountain classification confirmed with Janneke Ensing of Ale Cipollini winning ahead of Rosella Ratto, Ensing having won all 3 of the classified climbs today. Megan Garnier in 3rd place on that classification. The young classification led from start to finish in this race by Lisa Kline and Juliette Labou of Team Sunweb. And just a recap of today's stage, the final stage of the 2017 Ladies Tour of Norway. We had an escape of 3 riders go clear. And they built a gap of up to 3 minutes and 30 seconds before being brought back in the final rider of those 3 being brought back in the final 20 kilometres. Mechanical there for Tussilaita saw the end of her day, sadly. And then the Australian rider, Lisen Hawkins, managed to ride away from her colleague in the escape, Ingrid Moe. Moe there, feeling that desperate moment of being unable to hold the wheel. There's still riders finishing the race ahead of us. Barbara Groiski. And then when it came back together, Rachel Neylan of Orica Scott attacked the peloton on the final circuit in Holden, catching the final two of the escapees. First of all, Moe, and finally Lisen Hawkins. Before the peloton brought it all back together, before a small group finally caught the two Australians. But it was a brave effort from Neylan, staying away and at the same time setting up her teammates in the group behind her. And in that group, from that group, former world time trial champion Ellen van Dijk attacked that group, gaining a small gap, catching Neylan, who sat on her wheel for a little while until the final lap, when it was all brought back together. And it was left on some of those final laps for race leader and Uno X yellow jersey wearer Marianne Vos to chase down those attacks and bring it back together to set up her general classification victory. And a final sprint to the line, which was won, as we can see here, by former American champion Megan Garnier of Bulls Dolmans.
Pretty much everything there is within women's cycling. What does this victory in the...
You just heard a little bit of the interview before it was faded out again there. But it was a fantastic sprint from Garnier, well timed, well thought out. I mean, making the right decision under such pressure, under such physical pressure. It's just got to be second nature. You haven't got time to think, have you?
No, and then daring to play that game as well. Linda Willemsen, she had that gap and just waiting for someone else to take it, and then Ellen comes and she does what she do, and she just, well, she brings it back for Megan.
And that's the end of our broadcast here from the Ladies Tour of Norway. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon for the next round of the Women's World Tour, the GP Plouay, next Saturday in France.
Thank you.
That was